Good afternoon, everyone. Guys, we have had a wild, 6 hours or something since I did my last video this morning. So just quickly, what I want to talk about before we go into this. So the gist of this video is going to be how the UK are stopping arms exports to Israel and how that feeds into the narrative we've been talking about on this channel of this divergence between the United States focusing in the Middle East and the United Kingdom focusing their military efforts in Eastern Europe. But before we get on to that, guys, is it just me or is there a mass increase in churches burning down all the way across Europe? Now, I'm not going to speculate that this is sabotage. I'm not going to speculate that this is any minority group doing this. All I'm going to say is churches, to me, appear like they're on fire in Europe at an alarming rate, a suspicious rate. And, you know, who's doing health and safety for these churches? Who's doing fire safety? You know, because there's certainly a problem because these things are ablaze. And, you know, there's a lot of architecture that dates back hundreds of years. And once that's burnt, you can't unburn it. It's gone. Also, what I want to mention quickly and just talk about and just like skim over really is what's just happened in Germany. So the AfD party, which is the Alternative für Deutschland, which would be, it's a right-wing party, basically. Well, I'll read you what they've said. AfD tells Scholz to pack up bags after wake-up call German elections. The leader of the Alternative für Deutschland party, AfD party, told Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz to pack up his bags and make room after victories in state-level elections. The far right's first victory in a German state election in the post-war era must be a wake-up call for everyone, the party leader of Chancellor Olaf Scholz, Social Democrats Party, said on Monday. The AfD was in the top spot in Thuringia, a place in Germany, with 32.8% of the vote, and second place in Saxony with 30.6% of the vote. Now, why is this? Why do you think we're getting this increase in far-right parties, in right-wing parties? You know, I mean, I've done videos on ideological subversion, and I've said that this is where they lead. They lead to polarization, they lead to crisis, and then they lead to normalization. And the normalization of a crisis is when you elect a strong leader who says they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and then everybody follows that leader. And it's kind of like blindly following a messiah, you know, because then anything that person says, you just go along with it, no matter how horrific that is, because they're the person who you feel is your savior. And guys, I'm not throwing dirt at the Germans, but it's never worked well for the Germans. You know, it never goes well when the Germans get right-wingified, you know, and we've seen through history what can happen. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm doing is making comparisons here, guys. It's up to you guys what you think. But anyway, that's kind of the two things that have happened recently. And then we've got this article, well, we've got this breaking news from the UK. Let me share it with you real quick. So here we are, guys. Article from The Guardian. The UK suspends 30 arms export licenses to Israel after review. So this comes from, you know, the UK is basically moving to immediately suspend 30 arms export licenses to Israel. So before the UK can export some, and again, I don't know what it is, and they're not telling you. But again, before you can export arms to another country, you have to apply for an export license from the country you're exporting from. Now, historically, the United Kingdom has been very liberal with its arms export licenses. So to suspend 30 arms export licenses to Israel, it sends a huge, you know, it's a huge statement sent to the Middle East. You know, after review by the new Labour government found a clear risk that the UK arms may be used in serious violations of humanitarian law, relating to the treatment of Palestinian detainees and the supply of aid to Gaza. Now, I'll put this article in the description, guys, but I'll tell you what it means right now. So what this means is people are setting their feet for this coming conflict. And, you know, if you watch my videos I did earlier on today, I said, you know, it's kind of inevitable now because of the amount of money that's being printed, the amount of weapons that are being bought. And I gave the analogy earlier on when if two kids are allowed to fight in a playground, they get it over and done with, one will have a bloody nose and then that'll be it, they'll go home. If those two kids are allowed to goad each other and keep goading each other, then other kids will get involved. You know, parents will get involved. Then this guy's got his parents involved. So then this kid gets his parents involved. So then this kid gets his parents and their uncles. Then this guy gets his parents and his uncles and his friends. And by the next thing you know it, a little argument between kids, you know, something that's so trivial that could have been dealt with really shortly. You know, that's escalated now, and this is called war escalation. This has escalated into a conflict that the tensions and the, you know, and the potential collateral is just far bigger than if it had just been dealt with initially. So that's the problem that you have when you get these two sides building up. And by two sides, I mean NATO and Russia and China and the United States, because you can kind of put the United States in a bracket on its own. I mean, guys, so the biggest air force in the world is the United States Air Force. They have the biggest air force by far. You know, I think it's probably by a factor of 10. The second biggest air force is the United States Navy. So, you know, the air power that the United States can bring to bear, guys, it's just phenomenal, all right? And nobody wants to play with that. So you can kind of put the United States in a bracket of their own. And then you can put like NATO in a bracket of their own. And then you can put all these other groups in their brackets and their alliances. And at the moment, the water is so murky with alliances. You know, you've got Iran. Again, this is my speculation, but I think it'd be fair to say Iran will be pursuing the enrichment program. Iran's pursuing their uranium enrichment program, trying to build a nuclear weapon. Now, with the relationships between Iran and Russia, it doesn't take the brains of an archbishop to speculate that at some point Russian scientists are in Iran telling them how to do this. You know, guys, that would be what happens with allies. I mean, do you think we don't help our allies? Of course you do. You're allied. You know, so you've got all this working towards I don't know what. And I've been saying this for the longest time, guys. Put a comment in the put something in the comments about something I've said previously about this diversions. And I've been saying it for the longest time. You know, you're going to see the United States have a fallout with the United Kingdom. You know, it's all going to be smoke and mirrors. You know, the United Kingdom is going to go and focus in Europe with the Russian threat and, you know, supporting Ukraine, which is going to leave the United States then to leave Ukraine and say, oh, we don't want anything to do with Ukraine. We're going to pull funding. We're going to go and fight a war in the Middle East. And you're seeing this now. This article I just shared, what was it called? UK suspends 30 arms export licenses. This article is just more evidence of what's coming. You know, you've got these factions now. You've got these lines in the sand, and you've got these fake alliances. You've got these real alliances. You've got these fake splits, like the fake diversions, and that's what's coming, guys. And I honestly think I think it's going to be a lot sooner than people think because of the way things are shaping up, because of the climate, because of the economy, because of the weather as well. The weather is a big factor when you're planning these, you know, these mass incidents. And again, I did a video earlier on today about what did I call it? I called it, hang on guys, I'm thinking, I set out the, you know, I talked about conscription and I said, could we really conceive of a migrant army? And if you keep following why are these people allowed to come into our country? Why are these people allowed to turn up on our shores on a daily basis? Unchecked, unhindered, unopposed, you know, why are they here? If you want to look at a bigger picture, and if you want to go down conspiracy lane, you could say that People know this war's coming and they know they're going to need boots on the ground. So why wouldn't you have an influx of people that could be disposable? Now, of course I'm not saying that. Of course I'm not saying Tony Blair planned this back 20 years ago. But what we do know is that ideological subversion, it takes around 20 years to, around 15 to 20 years to, to be able to implement it. So it doesn't sound that absurd when you think that the first prime minister that Vladimir Putin dealt with, British Prime Minister Vladimir Putin, the first British Prime Minister that Vladimir Putin dealt with was Tony Blair. So now when you look at this timeline, you think, wow, you know what? It's not actually been that long since Tony Blair was in charge. And Vladimir Putin sat at the back and he's watched all these prime ministers come and go. He's watched the war in Afghanistan. He's watched the war in Iraq. He's watched all the other conflicts. And he's sat back and he's been looking and he's been taking notes. Now, moving forwards, what does this mean to the world? What does this mean to, for example, us in the UK? How is it going to affect us? Well, I do think that there's going to be some sort of, I don't think they're going to call it, I've said for quite a while, guys, I don't think they're going to call it conscription. I think they will, if they do have to recruit people into the military, they will call it something else, but not conscription, So by the way that, people can join the military and they can leave, and it looks like they're doing that on their own. But equally, the draconian, the draconian way they could do this, they could say, right, we're not going to conscript you. And Rishi Sunak even alluded to this by saying, and I can't believe he said this, he came out and he said we'd stop people's banking if they refused to join the military. Now, that is an absolute dystopian. It's just absolute insanity, but they're the things that I've not been saying them. These are the things that our politicians have been saying to us. Now, with whatever you want to call Keir Starmer, our great, illustrious leader, our fearless leader, our brilliant leader, whatever you want to call him, I can think of a few other words, but, now he's in charge, I genuinely believe that anything is possible. If he's told to do something, he will do it. All you have to do is look back through his previous speeches, his previous policies, how he walks back on himself, how he says one thing on a Monday, something different on a Tuesday, different on a Wednesday. So, you could call him, Keir the Chameleon. But anyway, guys, that is it. The jux of this video is the diversions. We're seeing it now with the arms exports, basically Britain cancelling arms export licenses to Israel. You've also got this strange thing where churches are on fire in Europe. And of course, I'm not speculating that this is sabotage. I'm not speculating anything. I'm just saying that a lot of churches are on fire in Europe. And also you've got the... this rise of the far right in Germany. And, people are shocked that this is happening. People are shocked that, you're having these rises in the perceived far right when we've got a world that's full of wokeness. Well, guys, that is it. We have got more wild times to come. And don't forget to like and share my videos, guys, because I really appreciate it when you do that. Guys, I'm going to mag to grid now, and I'll speak to you guys later.